Hi everyone, thank you for coming to my YouTube channel. Today I want to introduce a book that I recently listened to on Audible. It's called The Upside of Stress. It talks about stress, and the author, Kelly McGonigal, I think I'm pronouncing it right, says that stress isn't necessarily bad for you. It is bad for you if you perceive it as something bad. Then your body responds to whatever you believe. But if you perceive it as something, it's a challenge that you can overcome or you can face, and so that you can grow from that experience, then your body responds accordingly. And I really resonated with the idea. There was something that I always felt, reading other books or from my personal experience. But it was really nice to read based on, psychological experiments, so that the data or evidences were there. So the bottom line is, your stress is going to be there no matter what. Just like Buddhism teaching is, every day you have something happening to you, always. You cannot really avoid things happening to you, but it's about, how you perceive it. And even in the Bible too, from all the way back to 2000 something years ago, people are suffering from the similar stuff that we suffer every day, about relationships, about money, work, same. So yeah, your life is gonna be stressful and many things happen to you. And one of the part in the book that I couldn't listen to without crying was a story of this couple who lost their daughter at the 41st week of their pregnancy. So the baby's heart stopped, so they had to have C-section and have the baby and let the baby go. But the couple said, they went through a really hard time, but after that, after a while, they learned that they value in their lives more, and their toxic friendship dissolved, and they were taking care of their bodies more, and they became more empathetic to other people, started doing volunteering work, helping other people. And so when I read that, it sounded like me. So I don't know, I just started crying. And the mother even said, at some point she felt guilty that she was, living her life to the fullest or enjoying, because, after the baby died. But at the same time, she felt like, the baby is always in spirit, and, baby wants her to enjoy her life. So she tried to focus on, the positive side. And I think that's what I'm trying to do too. It resonated with my story. Yes, Ty, my first son, and I fought brain cancer for 4 years together. And in the end, he had to leave this world. And it's so hard, still hard. But what can I do? I always try to think there is meaning in this. Something that I can learn. And something that I can share with people. So that's why I made my resilience workshop, and I tried to just share my experience to other people who is also trying to build their resilience muscle. So the important part is, the word that I already knew that word, but that kind of hit me again from the book was post-traumatic growth. Some people who go through really, traumatic experience, but they grow afterwards. And the important thing is they find meaning to the experience. And that reminded me of another book I listened to on Audible, which is Man's Search for Meaning by Frankl. He is the survivor of the Jewish concentration camp under Nazis. And because he was a doctor, he was observing other people and making notes, and he wrote a book about his experience. But he said, people who focused on positive or found the meaning were more likely to survive. And even in that kind of really harsh environment, he was able to find some meaning. And that's, I think, what I am trying to do. Every time I remember about my son, and every time I meet or face someone who is very difficult to communicate with, or some situation that's very challenging for me, I always tell myself, okay, Tomomi, this is a lesson for you to become a better coach. And for me, being a better coach means just being a better person. So this is a challenge for you to be the better version of yourself. So how are you going to face it, and how are you going to handle it? And even if I don't handle it perfectly, that's still okay. I mean, it's not gonna be always perfect. It's always learning. So still focus on something that I did well. And one of the participants in the 7-week resilience workshop last time asked me, so do you assume that everybody is a happy person like you, or has a happy perspective like you? And I answered, no, I don't. I know everybody's different, and I myself is intentionally try to focus on the positive side and happy side, but that doesn't mean that I am naturally a happy person. And actually I wasn't, and I remember all the little challenges or big challenges in my life, how I dealt with it. And when I was little, I wasn't really good, or I wasn't really conscious. But now at the age of 45, after going through many different challenges, I now know that, if you have a choice to look at it from an unhappy perspective and happy perspective, it is better to choose the happy perspective. So that's why I do that. But that doesn't assume that life is always happy or everybody's happy. So I really want to say that, my life hasn't been always happy. First of all, being a Korean-Japanese mixed person born in a mixed culture family in Japan can be seen as something like a disadvantage if you look at from more privileged perspective. It wasn't really privileged thing to be culturally mixed, but I tried to look at it as an advantage. And during my middle school year, my first middle school year, I was ignored by all the girls in the 7th grader girls for 1 year, and I had to eat my lunch every day alone. And back then I didn't have this positive perspective, or I didn't really think about meaning. I just talked to my family, and my mom said, okay, then why don't you just study? And I think that was kind of like typical. I think that was Korean influence on her cultural side. Although she never studied, she's illiterate, so she doesn't know what it means to study. But I said, okay, that makes sense. Since I don't have anyone to talk to during lunchtime, why don't I study? So I was writing English words or Chinese characters. But I think back then I wasn't aware of that, but I think my mom's perspective helped me to find a different perspective or a different meaning for the fact that no one is talking to me. No girls are talking to me for 1 year. And it ended up as a good thing later on, because academically I was doing great in junior high, and many things followed, and in high school, I stopped going to school, and I always dropped out of high school, which I'm going to talk about maybe later. But that experience became a good motivation for me when I went to the States and started from community college and transferred into four-year college, to finish 4 years of my education in the States. Although it was super hard for me to listen to all the lectures and understand and try to have discussion with the American classmates, because sometimes I didn't understand anything. But I think I had some resilience muscle that, okay, I have this challenging experience back in high school, so now the university experience has different meaning for me. It means to face the past and be the better version of me. So I think that was the biggest reason I was able to finish in 4 years. And then divorce. At first, I thought it wasn't my fault, but it was a great way for me to look at my personality, my communication style, and what my ex-husband had to say about me, which I didn't want to accept, but in the end I had to face it. And I had to really look at myself and ask, is this real me that I want to just keep, or do I want to get better at certain aspects? So I think it was a great way for me to work on myself, so that I was able to meet my new husband, and I think I am doing better in terms of communication and respecting the other person's way of communicating or the other person's value. So those are the kind of little challenges or bigger challenges that I faced and worked on, which helped me to get resilience muscles. But I do agree, just like the book says, finding the meaning in the stress or stressful event is important. So these experiences helped me to face my son's cancer and fight for 4 years. And I think that's why I think I'm doing a great job grieving. It is sad, and sometimes I still cry, just like I cried just a few minutes ago. But I think I'm doing really great job facing and finding the meaning why I'm doing this and moving forward. So thank you for listening. This YouTubing itself is for me to have meaning for my son's death, and for me to see my stress as an opportunity for growth. So my question for you is, when do you feel stressful? And how do you see your stress? And when do you see your stress as growth opportunities? And when you do, how do you feel? Thank you for watching my YouTube. See you next time.